Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday morning to everybody, even though I've been up since about 2 o'clock this morning, so I'm a bit tired. So I'll try to make this live as, excuse me, as quick and as consistent as I possibly can. So today we're going to be looking over Bill C-11, which is a Canadian bill. So don't worry if you're not Canadian, it's not going to affect you, at least not directly. And it's an act to amend the Broadcasting Act and to make related and consequential amendments to other acts. So it's basically a the Copyright Act or Act on Canadian broadcasting, right? So, what is Canadiana in broadcasting? And it's really to update the fact that, of course, a lot of content now is solely made on the internet or is available on the internet. Um, and we'll go into the background of that in a moment. So before we do, I'm just going to thank Tara Arena, who came in earlier and gave a whole bunch of thumbs up. So thank you to her, and definitely, guys, give the video a thumbs up, share it out if you can into your community tab, and if you're just watching on the replay. Give me a comment, give me a like, give me all of that. Even a dislike, it's still engagement. Even if you don't like it, it's still good. I don't care. You don't have to like everything I say or do as long as you're here and support it in whatever way that you can. Or if you're just here, like so many might be curious as to what this Bill C-11 is. So I'm going to quickly play my intro and then we'll be back and starting to talk about the Bill's C-11. All right, so we're back. So, as I said, today we're going to be talking about Bill C-11. Okay, so I'm just here to present legal information. So, I'm not giving any kind of legal advice. At this point, this is not a bill that we, the Canadian citizens, can voice or vote on. Okay, but definitely, if you guys have an opinion, you're more than welcome to share that in the live video on my comment section if you're watching this on the replay or to your local politician. I welcome all political opinions. So if you disagree with this bill, make your voice known. If you agree with this bill, make your voice known. That's the beauty of the Canadian political system is you have the right to your opinion. And that's part of why I'm presenting this, right? So as sort of a neutral ground for everybody. I'm giving you guys the information, and you guys decide for yourself what you think about this bill. You have the right to have your own opinion on this or any other political matter, right? Not everybody loves Justin Trudeau. Not everybody hates Justin Trudeau. Not everybody likes the conservative party, the liberal party, NDP, whatever it is, right? So you guys have the right to your opinion and to feel comfortable and safe sharing that opinion. So please, guys, if somebody comes up with a political opinion you don't agree with, keep your discussion respectful and amicable. You have the right to disagree with each other, but you don't have the right to make somebody feel unsafe or unwelcomed for their different opinion. Okay. So please, don't go after people that disagree with you. Don't say anything negative. I will ban you permanently if I see that you're making somebody uncomfortable or saying remarks or acting in a way that's inappropriate or unwelcomed. Okay, we're here to talk. We're here to hopefully grow and learn. Hopefully, and take it from there. All right, so we're going to take a look now into the Wikipedia page. Now, there's two Wikipedia pages that relate to this bill. I included one of them in the description. The other one was, it's a little bit confusing to me. And like I get for me, when it comes to the bills, I never really understood how that works. Okay, but I will show the one that is in the description, but also the other Wikipedia page that I found. So I'm going to start by doing that now. So just give me a second. So again, all this information is public information that you guys can check for yourselves and see if anything I said was right or wrong. And I certainly don't come out here trying to pretend like I'm a perfect, all knowing person that knows everything and understands everything. When I don't understand something, when I'm wrong, I have no problem admitting it. So just give me a second here. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Here we are. Is it that one? Okay, just give me a second, guys. I just want to make sure I'm getting the right one. Yeah. Okay, there we are. It's a problem when you have so many tabs open. Sometimes you're like, which tab do I want? Here we are. So as you can see, this is the Wikipedia page for the Bill C-11. So I'll be obviously quoting directly from the Wikipedia page. And for those of you who are part of the live right now, please make sure I have a poll. Please participate in it if you can. I ask, should should Canadian content be protected by the government? So far, I have one vote. I see there's a second person in the live hiding in the bushes, and that's absolutely fine. You don't have to participate if you don't want to, but at the very least, if you can, please answer the question if you can. Excuse me. So we're going to go ahead and read a little bit of the Bill C-11 according to Wikipedia. So Bill C-11 is the 44th Canadian Parliament. Is in the 44th Canadian Parliament. Parliament is sort of like Canada's Congress, essentially. Okay. Thank you to the person who the other person. Thank you for participating in the poll. So far, one person voted yes, they would. They do believe the Canadian government should protect Canadian content, and the other person said only if they pay for it. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Put your money where your mouth is, right? That's the saying. It's not a saying for nothing. So, the bill is an act to amend the Copyright Act, also known as Bill C-11 or the Copyright Modernization Act, was introduced in the House of Commons of Canada on September 29th, 2011 by the Industry Minister Christian Paradis. It's virtually identical to the government's previous attempt to amend the Copyright Act, Bill C-32. And despite receiving unanimous opposition from all three parties, the Conservative Party of Canada was able to pass the bill due to their majority government. The bill received royal assent on June 29, 2012, becoming the first update to the Copyright Act since 1997. Now, for those of you wondering what's a royal assent, let's look that up because I'm not 100% sure. I know the Queen, well, now the King, right? Since the Queen passed away earlier this year, I believe a royal assent, if I remember correctly, is the Queen has to approve new bills or amendments or laws coming in. So a royal assent would be that approval, right? Because a lot of people don't realize technically Canada is still a British colony. So there's still a lot of things that need the Queen's approval in order to occur. But I'm just going to double check, take a moment here, a little detour, just to make sure that a royal assent is the method by which a monarch family formally approves the act of legislature. So I was right that it's when a member of the royal family approves of a law. So I wasn't off. It's been a while since I've taken my political classes and all that, and I remember going back to college and having to learn about how the Canadian government works and all that. And they do remind you because I went back to school to go into, I should say, information and library technologies, and a lot of it, some librarians go work for the Canadian government or political government, etc. So you have to know how that works and understand, so that way what you're looking for, how to present it to your client, etc., etc. Okay, so it's been a while, but I'm glad that I got that right. So, as you can see, basically, the Bill C-11 is to update the Copyright Act. And in particular, a lot of people don't know Canada has what's called the CRTC. I'm blanking right now as to what those initials stand for, but basically, in Canada, they're the governing body of what content can or cannot be shown on TV, on in radio, etc. But of course, until fairly recently, the internet was kind of loosey goosey, wild west territory where there really wasn't that much. Like, there's some government involvement, but not as much as with cable TV or with a phone or with radio, etc. Right? So the part of what the CRTC does as well is make sure that a certain percentage of the content is Canadian content, right? So that could be either the artists that are presented. So a certain amount, I think it's like something like 20 or 30%, something like that. I'll have to look into it to give you guys a more precise number. Okay. But it's a certain percentage, regardless of whether it's 10%, 50%, whatever that number is, right? Each, like, any body, any like if you're talking about the CBC, right, CTV, which are two major cable provider cable channels here in Canada, a certain percentage of their content has to be Canadian. Okay, so Canadian artists, so somebody like Justin Bieber, Celine Dion, right? So they have to make sure that these artists are shown and played. Okay, but it could also be shows that are made about Canada as well. Okay, and it could be people behind the scenes as well. So how many of your the director, how many is the director Canadian, are the writers Canadian, are the people, the set directors, etc., right? So they want to make sure that we have that idea of Canada first, right? A lot of people are against it, and have that idea of, hey, it's a free market, it should be your best that are successful. If you're not the best, well, tough luck for you. Or if nobody wants your content, even if you're really a really great singer or you're a really great writer or whatever the case, well, if you can't convince people to watch or to read your content or whatever the case might be, why should we, the Canadian public, spend our tax dollars on you, right? It's an open free market. Competition is king, right? For a lot of people. So a lot of people are against the CRTC. So anytime there's any kind of amendment or adjustment to be made to anything to do with the CRTC or with this law, they'll automatically be against it. Which, look, I don't blame them. It is, it is money that's being sent on something that is essentially being imposed on us Canadians, right? On all of us, right? Because that basically means when I turn on my TV, I expect some of the shows to be Canadian or have Canadian artists involved in it or have Canadians somehow, somewhere involved in it, right? So I personally agree with it overall. I might not agree with all of the elements of the CRTC or some of the policies that they come up with, but overall, I think that if we want to make sure that everybody has a fair shot of getting their content out there and publicized, that we should have equal level played. Everybody got a fair opportunity, and what you do with that opportunity, that's where the free market comes into, right? Because there's thousands of Canadian artists, but not everybody's going to be at the level of a Celine Dion or a Justin Bieber, right? They all had a fair shot, but the cream of the crop ended up rising to the top, right? So Some of the other controversies, and that's really what got me into talking about this bill, was who was going to be governed by this new adjustment to the bill, right? Um, I'm not going to mention her name, but it's a pretty well known YouTuber that does a lot of shorts. I love her content. She's a great content creator, but she was the second person I saw. Oh my God, the Bill C-11, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that, no, 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 no. And I'm like, okay, let me check this out for myself, okay? Because one of the things that she was claiming was we would, as Canadian citizens, we would have to give in our personal ID. We would have to prove our age. We would be limited as to what we could do. That basically the government was coming in and controlling everything. So I wanted to check for myself and to show you guys for yourselves what was going on with this bill, and for you guys to decide for yourselves what, is there something here that we need to be afraid of? Is there something here that should be, concerning? And I'm not here to tell you guys what to feel, what to think about this bill. If after this you're like, yeah, you know what, we need to be concerned, we need to intervene, by all means, like I said, it's your legal right to go ahead and go to the government and say, no, we need to stop things, or it be, hey, no, things need to continue. I like how this is going. So we're going to look at some of the provisions in it. I was going to say amendments, but no, that's not quite the right term here. So we're going to look at the main provisions that are spoken to, but at 1.2, I'm going to show you guys the actual bill itself as well. So don't worry, I'm going to, show everything. I want to give you guys accurate information and see for yourselves what this bill is about. Okay. So, many of the significant provisions it contains: one, makes explicit allowance for time shifting, format shifted, and backup copies, as long as no digital locks are involved. So, a digital lock would be something like, let's say, I own the content and I say only I can have a backup. That would be a digital lock. Okay, one example of. Okay. Expands the scope of fair dealing to include education, satire, and parody, which enables users to make use of fragments of copyrighted works if no digital locks are involved. Introduces a new exception for user-generated content created using copyrighted works without digital locks. So that was point 3, 2 and 3. Point 4 prohibits the circumvention of digital locks, even for personal use, with some limited exceptions, such as unlocking cell phones. Point number 5 limits the amount of statutory damages for cases of non-commercial infringement to between $100 and $5,000 for all infringements in a single proceeding for all works. Statutory damages for commercial infringements range from 500 to 20,000 per work infringed. So that was point number 5. So point number 6 adopts a notice and notice regime, which requires ISPs to forward any notice alleged infringement received from copyright owners to subscribers in question. Point number 7 allows an educational institution or person acting under its authority to reproduce a work or do any other necessary act in order to display it. Okay. The next point allows libraries to reproduce works in its permanent collection in alternative formats in the original format is if the original format is obsolete, or if the technology requires to use the original is no longer available. Next point requires educational institutions to ensure that copyrighted courses materials are destroyed 30 days after the end of the course. Next point requires libraries to place 5-day time limits on material borrowed electronically. Before last point makes performers and photographers the primary owners of their commissioned work. And the last point calls for a review of copyright law every 5 years. Okay, so far that's what we have, and we have a new person that came in and voted. So thank you for that. So far, two people says uh, that the Canadian content can be protected by the government as long as it pays for it, and one person so far still believes that it's yes all the way around, regardless of. So those are the main points that I wanted to talk about with this Wikipedia page. So as you can see here, some of the concerns that this other YouTuber was bringing up about, oh, we're gonna have to, we're gonna be controlled. We're going to have to, show ID. We're gonna have to do this. We're not, we as Canadian content creators, i.e., me, the person behind the screen on YouTube, we're going to be controlled by the Canadian government. They're going to do this. It doesn't seem to be in this part. Okay. But I'm going to, of course, because of full transparency, show you the other Wikipedia page where I see why this person might have thought that. So just give me a second. I'm going to stop sharing the screen so I can switch it. Hello, hello, Nana Foodies. Thank you for being here with me this morning. I'm sorry it's a little bit boring. It's about Canadian law, and I know that's not exciting and wonderful, but thank you for being here and spending some time with me. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen here. I'm going to go into the other page that I have from, again, Wikipedia. So I think this is where the other YouTuber, and I can't remember who was the first that I saw, but both of them came with that idea of, oh my god, it's the big scary government. Oh my god, daddy government is here to control us, and it's 1984 again. uh, you know I get that general idea, and yes, you should always be concerned when a new bill comes around to see what it is and what the government's reach is and how it involves in your lives, or has an impact, I should say, in your life. You should always be aware of that. But I find it, so far from what I've read about it, it seems like an exaggerated reaction to it, right? But it's absolutely fine. We can all react and have our feelings about anything that we want. So I'm going to go ahead and share. I see a couple new people popped up. Hello, hello, Andrea. Thank you for being here. Yes, glad that's your first time. Thank you, Nana Foodies, for the heart shaped. As you can see, Nana Foodies, what I shared, it comes out to the full, the name of the emoji and not the emoji itself. But thank you. And thank you, Andrea, for being here the first time. This is, I know, a little bit boring, on the boring side of things. I know talking about Canadian laws is not exactly the most, sexy thing ever out there in the whole world. And oh my God, it's so wonderful. But I feel that it's important enough to talk about and to really share our opinions about it. So we obviously got a couple of more votes. Um, and should Canadian content be protected by the government? We got a couple more votes. So one person said no, and then we got one per person, and we're just gonna put up your opinion. Government protecting content seems like a nice term for future data mining. Great topic. Not bored at all. Great, thank you. I'm glad that you're liking it, and I'm glad that you're also sharing your opinion about it, Andrea, because I do think it is important to have this kind of discussion about Canadian laws. Now, I disagree with you. I don't think it's data mining. The Canadian government already knows everything that it needs to know about you, regardless of whether you're willingly and knowingly sharing they already can go into your IP address and see what you're doing. And Google already is doing it as well. They're already seeing where you're going, what you're doing, what content. Even if you're using Google Incognito, they see what you're doing. They're actually even selling your information to third parties, 4 parties, 20 parties down the line. So at this point, everything is already there. Okay. Okay, great, great. So they could market it as a good way to the pub. Sure, they could, but at this point, the government already knows everything that need to know about you, right? They know your birthday, they know your passport number. You're here in Canada because I saw that you said you're American. We have what's called the Medicare card, right? Um, they have that number already. They know what services that you've used. They know what medication that they have, etc., etc. To answer your question, Andre, great question. I'm loving that you're participating in this, and I'm all for discussion. And again, guys, don't be afraid. If you disagree with me, just say, hey, no, I don't look at it this way or whatever. I'm all for having a discussion here. Okay, so Andrea asked, who is the information being protected from? It's not really a question. This bill isn't about protecting information. It's about ensuring. And I know you probably missed it. You were just got in maybe 5 minutes ago, something like that, right? At the beginning, I indicated that Canada has what's called the CRTC. I can't remember what the initials stand for, but basically, the Canadian government wants to make sure that when a radio show goes on, a TV show goes on, whatever the case might be, right? You're watching content. They want to make sure that a certain amount of that content is Canadian content, right? A certain percentage has to be Canadian, right? So if you are here in Canada, we have two major TV channels, amongst others. We have the CTV and CBC. So when they put on a television show, they have obviously several shows, right? So much of their shows has to be Canadian, right? So either the artists that are involved in the show have to be Canadian, the show itself has to be about Canada, or talking about Canada, etc., etc., right? So it's really making sure that uh, Canada's put forth on the entertainment platforms. And the whole point of this bill C-11 is updating the fact that Canada now, obviously, like most modern countries, have a lot of dependency on entertainment online. So it's updating that bill to include what's going on YouTube, what's going on Netflix, etc., and to make sure that they're also following, this, new world that we're all in, right? And that we're all, participating, making sure that Canada puts itself first, right? So you go, I'm sure as an American, you heard that slogan, Buy America First, right? So the CRTC is Canada's version to that slogan, right? Making sure that we Canadians put ourselves first and foremost, and that if we import, in which we do, a lot of American content, that we still have Canadian content there offered to people. So yeah, and I'm glad that you're understanding things, and I'm glad that you're asking questions. That's absolutely fine. For me, I have no problems with people who ask questions. In fact, I want you to guys to ask questions. If there's something that I'm explaining that you're not sure, or if you think, hey, I think you got, even if it's to tell me, hey, I think you got it wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I have no problems admitting that I'm wrong. I can be wrong. I'm a human being. I'm not out here trying to pretend like I'm perfect and I know everything and I get everything right. God knows you're going to hear it a lot when I speak. I'll make mistakes. Sometimes don't pronounce people's names properly, so I have no problems admitting that I make mistakes and all that. Okay, so we're gonna continue on here. So glad that you guys are caught up, and we're all on the same level here. Okay, but again, if you guys don't agree with me, that's absolutely fine. I'm not feeling anything. This is a law, right? This is a bill that's being proposed. So I have no, this is not my law that I came up with here, right? So you're not going to hurt my feelings if you, oh, this law is horrible. How dare you? Da, da, da. It's a law that's being proposed. So, anyways, let's get back into it, guys. So this is the part that I was saying before that hey, when I was looking back up on it, I found this other page, and I can see now where those other YouTubers who had spoken about this bill, because I didn't find out this about this bill on my own or through two other YouTubers, and they were talking about some of the controversies of this bill. And on this particular version, it was more clarifying because I wasn't seeing what they were seeing when I quickly skimmed through. And I do admit I was quickly skimming through, excuse me, the original bill, and I wasn't seeing what they were seeing, right? So I wanted to sort of like, okay, why would they say, oh, well, the government is not going to ask for ID, that you have to have be of a certain age, you have to have certain content. Why would they say that? This bill, this our Wikipedia page, I should say. Correct. Please, sorry for the mistake. But yeah, this particular Wikipedia page, which I'm going to now put into the chat. If you guys want to read for it on your own, you'll be able. Nice, Andrea, and edutainment. Yes, thank you. That's a good word. I'll be using that from now on. I'm edutainting you. So here is the other Wikipedia page, and I probably will add it to the description once this live ends, and you guys can read up the full details. Obviously, the page that I had before, it's in the description, so you guys can check that other Wikipedia page for yourself at any moment. And this one for now is in the chat, and like I said, I'll try to remember to put it in the description as well, so that you guys can go into details for yourself about it. So let me see if I can find it. Think it's part of the history, but at one point in this Wikipedia page, it had said that basically, even I, because I am in Canada, even I, as just an independent person, right? I don't work for CTV, I don't work for CBC, I'm not part of the Canadian broadcasting system in some way. I'm not an employee. I don't have a broadcasting license. That even I, as just a regular person, because I'm creating content, I live in Canada, I would still have to show that I'm of legal age, that I would have to follow everything. Okay. So yeah, it's in this version it's called the Online Streaming Act, okay, which the name itself makes more sense because the other was called the Copyright Act, which just like, wait a minute, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but it is what it is. Sometimes the Canadian government doesn't always title the things properly or in a way that makes sense, at least from a public uh, stance. So the history of it. So on January 19th, 2021, not quite, no, this is not the CRTC, what it means, but anyways, so the CRTC, on January 19, 2021, the Broadcast and Telecommunication Legislative Review Panel issued a report to Minister of Heritage, Stephen Gibault, and Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry, Navdeep Bains, calling for reforms to Canada's broadcasting system to account for digital media. So that's what we were talking about before. Among other reforms, the panel urgently recommended that any company with Canadian revenue that distributes or curates audiovisual, or news content to be required to register with and regulated by the CRTC. The review, proposed to be named the Canadian Communication Commission to signify a wider scope and become obligated to make expenditures towards the creation of Canadian content, just as licensed radio and television broadcasters must do under the existing Broadcasting Act and CRTC policy. The CRTC does not currently regulate the internet content. Hello, Lashes Journey. Thank you for being here this beautiful morning. Love seeing you exercise. I'll be going to the gym later today myself. Boy, I have a love-hate relationship with the gym. I love it. I know I need to get in shape, but right now my body, I had to take 2, 3 days rest because I've been busy the past 2, 3 mornings. But to later today, I will have to go to the gym and get some, at least some exercise in. But thank you for being here. Yeah, it kind of is groundbreaking here in Canada. This is old news for us because the CRTC has been regulating Canadian content for years and years. I couldn't even tell you when it started. I grew up with knowing what the CRTC does. So for us, this is just it's just normal for us. But I know in the US, you guys obviously have a very different experience and how how content is created and regulated. Thank you, Lashes. Thank you. Yeah, it's fun and it's difficult to go to the gym, but it's definitely important if you're gonna stay young and healthy. You have to take care of yourself, right? So, so as you can see in the part that I just read, and this is from what I see is the older version of the law. As you guys see, it really seems to include the fact that I, as an individual content creator on YouTube, will now, if I'm making money off of my content, will have to report indirectly, at least, to the CRTC. Okay, so we'll go further down here into this because I just spotted the paragraph that I was reading before. On June 1st, 2022, it proposed amendment by the Conservatives to reinstate a clause excluded user generated content from the scope of the bill, citing various concerns from critics and media outlets, was voted down by the House. The Liberals, with support of the Bloc, and that's here when you say the Bloc, it's a Le Bloc Québécois. Okay, it's a particular party in Quebec, the province that I live in. Okay, subsequently passed a motion of time allocation in order to limit the debate on the bill. The first such motion in 20 years, and only the third overall, to 5 hours, after which Heritage Committee was required to conclude its clause by clause review. Gibault cited systematic obstruction of the bill by the Conservatives. Okay, so as you can see, there was a whole back and forth debate as to whether or not a clause to include or exclude individual content creators like myself from the bill. Okay, so I'm going to shut down the share of this particular tab here. I wanted to have that clarification made that yes, there are certain clauses, not the bill itself that people are protesting, but some of the individual elements of the clause that people are contesting. And I see, thank you, Laced Up. Hello, hello. Thank you for being here and listening in the background. I know I do that with a lot of your lives. I was sitting down listening in the background. So thank you very much. And I hope that you're having a great morning. And for those of you guys who just came into the chat, take a second if you can. Please give me a good thumbs up and answer the poll if you can, please. I know that, I say Canadian content, but think of it if you're American, if you're Jamaican, or whatever it is. Would you want your government to protect the content and to make sure that there's a minimum of Jamaican content or American content or whatever it is on YouTube or wherever? Okay, so take a moment to check that out. Thank you, guys. Yeah, exactly. There's always a way to sneak in things that you don't, if you're not checking one by one, there's always a way. I agree with you on that much for sure. That's why it is important to have these public discussions and have that idea of, hey, look, this is what's going on, in the government. There are lots of times where a whole law, a whole bill was rejected because of one particular clause that was there that just made no sense or was like, wait a minute, what's going on with this, right? Yeah, no problem. That's the whole point. That's why I put the link to the Wikipedia page and to the bill itself in the description so that you guys, whether you're Canadian or not, you guys can read it for yourself and see, hey, is this something that I would want in my country, would not want in my country? I'm here to give you guys legal information, right? And you guys can decide for yourselves what you guys want to do about this, right? I'm definitely not here to tell you guys you have to agree with this bill or you have to disagree. It's here to for you guys to decide for yourself, right? So let's just read what you said. So a government search filter of sorts. I'm sure it has positives and negatives. Super interesting to me. Yep, for sure. Everything has positives and negatives. Hopefully, this bill will have more positive than negatives, but no bill is 100% positive. So, talking about the bill, it's a perfect transition. We're going to go to the bill itself, and I'm going to share the screen again with you guys here. So I'm just going to take a moment to drink some tea as well while I get to the bill. So I'm just going to turn off my mic for a second and I'll be right back, guys. Sorry, I'm back, guys. Thank you. Sorry, keep trying to share. I'm going to eventually get to that bill itself, but I want to share this. Yeah, there we go. This is the one I want to show you guys first. So this is called Legis Info. So basically, whenever you're welcome, Lashes, and yeah, a little bit of liberty doesn't hurt. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We all have the liberty to decide for ourselves our laws, and that's why I wanted to make this video so that you guys, especially my fellow Canadian content creators, that you guys have the information to decide for yourselves what to do about this law, if anything at all. So I'm not here to impose my ideas or thoughts. I'm sharing you guys information, sharing my personal thoughts, and you guys decide for yourself what you want to do. So, Legis Info is basically whenever the Parliament of Canada has a bill or an amendment, however you want to call it. We call it bills, but amendment is another way of saying it too. That's the American version of saying it. Whenever there's a new bill that needs to be passed or a new law, it goes through the House of Commons and it's put up on Legis Info. So that way people have that information to see what's going on with this bill, right? They know where it is, what's going on. And of course, that's why you'll see the names changes as well. So as you saw before, it was called Bill C-10, Bill C-32. Now it's C-11. So every time, even if it's the same bill over and over again, it will be called a different thing. So a bill might go through several different names. So the current name of it is C-11. And as you can see, the full name is an act to amend the Broadcasting Act and to make related and consequential amendments to other acts. So this will be integrated. And that's why I think it was called the Copyright Act, because it will obviously impact copywriting as well, amongst other things. So as you can see, this is the progress shown of where it is at. Okay, so here, this part of it is really to show you what's been done with this particular bill, right? So in green are the things that have been done, right, and gone through. So first reading, second reading, etc., gives you the date. You can go down, get a little bit of more information about it, right, and see for yourself what's going on. And this, I believe I put it into the description so you guys can go through and see for yourselves all the details. So I won't go through every last little detail here, but I want to at least show you guys that this is how whenever the Canadian government wants a bill to be passed or voted on, they have to put this information up publicly for the Canadians to know as well what's going on, and to see the progress of the bill. And you'll see here near the top right of the screen text of the bill. So that's why I had before, and we'll go to that now. So as you can see, as of February 2023, a third reading, and there's obviously some issues going on at this level. Okay, so we're going to now go to the bill itself and take a look at it on ourselves here. So yeah, don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to close a couple tabs here. No, I don't want to close that one. I'm going to close this one. And there we are. Going to clear up the tabs. I have too many tabs sometimes. So we're going to go to, of course, the meat and bones of our presentation itself. And that is, of course, the bill C-11. So as you can see, this is the infamous or famous bill C-11. So thank you for all those of you who voted. If you haven't voted on my poll, please do so when you can. I've had 6 votes. So far, it's pretty split. There's about, 33% say no, the government should not protect Canadian content. 33% yes, if they pay for it. 17% say, yeah, Canadian government should protect it, and 17% say only by government agencies. Alrighty, so as you can see, this is our beautiful bill C-11. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of this, guys. Obviously, it is very long, very boring, and that's not my point of this, is to, repeat or read every single part of it element by element for everybody. But as you can see, it also touches on other elements like the Cannabis Act. So here's what the CRTC is: Canadian Radio, Television, Telecommunication Act. Okay, CRTC. All right. So it talks about, obviously it's going to impact the Cannabis Act, the Copyright Act, the Referendum Act. So there's a lot of other things that, because obviously, for those of you who don't know, in Canada, that's why it was important for me to say it. I cannot tell you guys how to vote, right? That's a very important law, and I do believe that it is important. And there is history as to why this law came into place. I won't talk about it here now, but just know that there is a law that nobody can force you to vote in a certain way. Okay, so no, I can't tell you you must vote yes for this referendum or no for that referendum. It's illegal for me to do so. Okay, you have to be able to present the information and do just that. So that's why there's the Referendum Act. So when you're going on TV, for example, for political debate, the politician has to convince the audience to vote for me, but they can't tell you must vote for me or else. Okay, so we're going to go through at least some of the points of the summary, and then we're going to go down to the exceptions. As you see, I won't go through all of it. There's quite a few points for the summary, so we'll just read 3 or 4 points of it, and we'll go to the exceptions. If I can find it again, I should have written this down, but of course my lazy bum didn't do so. So please forgive me if I have to take a moment to look for everything that I need. But we'll at least read some of the points of the summary. So the summary: this enactment amends the Broadcasting Act to, among other things, add online undertakings for the transmission or retransmission of programs over the internet as a distinct class of broadcasting undertakings. B, specify that the Act does not apply in respect of programs uploaded to an online undertaking that provides a social media service by users of the service, unless the programs are prescribed by regulations. C, update the broadcasting policy for Canada set out in Section 3 by the Act, among other things, providing that Canadian broadcasting system should, and then they talk about 2 other points. D, enhance the vitality of official language minority communities in Canada and foster the full recognition and use of both English and French in Canadian society, including by supporting the production and broadcasting of original programs in both languages. Now, that's a really good point. Canada has 2 official languages, both French and English, as you see here. So, of course, many of you guys know, je parle français. I speak both French and English. So, technically could make this in French as well, but I'm usually, when it comes to speaking, I'm usually way more comfortable in English rather than in French. A lot of the terminologies, especially for the internet, to me, I know them in English, but don't necessarily know them in French. So we'll skip a little bit down here and read a couple of the other points in the summary. So, point H, provide the Commission with the power to require persons carrying on broadcast and undertakings to make expenditures to support the Canadian broadcasting system. I authorize the Commission to provide information to the minister responsible for that act, the Chief Statistician of Canada, and the Commissioner of Competition, and set out in the Act on process by which a person who submits to certain types of information to the Commission may designate the information as confidential. Oh, you learned français. Merci, bonjour, Andrea. Comment ça va? I'm glad that you learned French. French is a difficult language to learn, especially as an adult, but I'm glad that you are at least learned or tried to learn French. It is difficult. It is difficult. So let's see here. Now, I mentioned before that, of course, there was a whole debate as to who to include in this bill or not. So nobody's debating whether major broadcasting corporations, like I said, like the CTV or CBC, which would be the equivalent, the Canadian equivalent to NBC and ABC, right? Nobody's arguing that those companies should be part of this bill, right? That there are certain rules and regulations as to what they can and cannot do, right? Whether they can show, let's say, adult activities, right? And obviously, with the new YouTube rules, I have to be careful as to what I say on YouTube, right? So we all understand here, we're adults. You guys can put two and two together when I say adult activities. You all understand what I mean. Obviously, we wouldn't want that. I don't have kids, but I don't think my kids at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, if I had a kid, would be able to see adult activities. That's, we all understand that there's a certain amount of regulations that should occur, right? So nobody's debating whether these corporations that are out there, that are for profit, that are making money, that there should be a certain amount of regulations that determine what they can and cannot broadcast on their radio show, TV show, internet, whatever the case might be, right? Nobody disagrees with that. Where people start to disagree was whether I, as an individual person who's just here making this live, what should the government control what I say and do? Should I pay the government for the right to be able to say whatever? Or hey, if I do want to make more adult generated content, or content that's more geared to a mature audience, that okay, well, you can only do these videos at a certain time of the day or night or whatever, and once that broadcast ends, you have to do this. That's where people start to debate. Okay, so I'm going to try to see if I can refind, because in this version of the bill, there does seem to be an exception saying that people like me would not be part of this bill. So I would not be impacted. Exclusions. Okay, so I think I found it. So exclusions, certain transmissions over the internet. So 2.3, a person does not carry an online undertaking for purposes of this act in respect of a transmission of a program over the internet, if that is ancillary to a business not primarily engaged in the transmission of programs to the public, and that is intended to provide clients with information or service directly related to that business, b, that is part of operations of a primary, secondary school, college, university, or other institution of higher learning, a public library or a museum, or that is part of operations of a theater, concert hall, or other venue for presentation of live performing arts. So as you can see, there is some exclusions, right? So if you are part of these three categories, you don't have to worry. You're not going to be part of this particular act. But I know that there's another part as well. Let me see if I can find it again. Really should have written it down. Sorry if I go silent, guys. I'm just trying to find, because I know that there was another exception that showed that like anybody that's just using the internet, using Facebook or YouTube or whatever, that it would not be included. Uh, so again, you'll see in these paragraphs that I just scrolled over. A lot of them have to do, with French and English, etc. Uh, okay, I think this is the right thing, but I'll read anyways because it's a certain amount of stuff that um, that could relate to you. Okay, so point four, the act is amended by adding the following after section 4, non-application programs on social media service. 4.11, this act does not apply in respect of a program that is uploaded to an online undertaking that provides a social media service by a user of the service for transmission over the internet and reception by other users for the service. So here's where that point of because I'm just a user of YouTube and you guys are also just users of YouTube, you guys are just listening, we would be excluded from this, right? That's the point that I want to show. Okay. So really important to note that. Okay. Uh Application, certain programs, point 4.12, despite subsection subsection sorry, I'm having trouble with my words this morning. Despite subsection 1, so what we just read, this act applies in respect of a program that is uploaded as described in that subsection program if the program is uploaded by the social media service by the provider of the service or the provider's affiliate or by the agent or mandatory either or are mandatory of either of them or is prescribed by regulation made under section 4.2. Okay, so basically if I understand this part properly, so point one is an individual YouTuber like myself, and point two is if the C if C excuse me if CTV decides to go ahead and put their content on the internet. There's a different point. One would be me, point two would be CTV, right? So point one is a regular Joe, regular Jane that's just out here doing their thing, creating content, whatever, right? While as point two would be a corporation that's already in the industry, that's already being monitored by the CRTC, like the CTV, like CBC, right, amongst other corporations. I named those two because those are the two big ones in Canada, but there are other corporations as well. I'm thinking of TVA, which is more here in Quebec, which provides mostly French content or content in French, I should say. It would be more them that they would still, even under YouTube, would still have to fall. So that's where I don't know if you guys remember when I was talking about before, where a lot of people, a lot of fellow Canadian YouTubers were like, oh my god, we're gonna have to do this, we're gonna have to do that. I think that they made these two particular points to really show that, look, it's not going to happen for everybody, right? To really make that distinction between you as an individual user versus you as a corporation, right? So some of us, like me, I don't work for CTV, I don't work for TVA, I don't work for any of these corporations. I'm just here presenting my thoughts and opinions, right? I, you know, I teach you guys some French, I'm learning Spanish, right? I'm just here showing, part of my life, sharing my part of my life with you guys. But right as of now, I'm not making money. But even if I was making money, it wouldn't matter. I'm just here using the service here, right? I'm just here sharing my life. But if I did become an employee of these, major chains or something, like I don't know if you guys know, but you have Jake Paul and Logan Paul. I think one of them ended up being a Disney employee, ended up working for Disney. he might have to, if it was Canadian doing this in Canada, he would then have to follow these rules and regulation and make sure that so much of his content was Canadian content, right? So pretty much that's most of what I want to say, guys, about these laws in Canada. No problem, Nana Foodies. Yeah, I was about to end anyways, so definitely, guys, head on over to Nana Foodies for her premiere as well, or their premiere. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I assumed that you were female, but if you're a guy, I apologize. But definitely go to Nana Foodies for their premiere as well, guys. I'm about to end anyway, so it's absolutely fine. Perfect timing, anyways. But thank you for being here with us, Nana Foodies. And definitely, guys, head on over to Nana Foodies and check out their channel as well. But yeah, that's pretty much what I want to say about this Bill C-11. As I said, I already have two links in the description, one for the actual bill itself and the other for the one of the two pages of Wikipedia. And I shared the other Wikipedia page as well in the chat for those of you who want to go see it and are checking out on the replay. But I'll try to remember to put that other link into the description later on. I might forget, but I'll keep it. It's at least in the chat for those of you watching on the replay. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this and found it informative. So thank you everybody for being here and participating. So thank you Nana Foodies for being here. Thank you Lash's Journey. Thank you Andrea. Thank you Laced Up 4187 for being here and listening in to me rambling on this particular bill. And I know Tara Rena was here as well, so Tamsak to her. Thank you everybody for participating in the poll as well. So I'll just end that poll and see what the official results are, but I'm pretty sure I know hasn't changed a whole lot. And then after that, so the official results are for that poll. 6 people voted, so thank you for all the votes. We got 33% who said no, the Canadian content should not be protected by the government. 33% said only if the government pays for it. 16% said yes, and 16% said only by government agencies, which is absolutely fine, guys. You have the right to your opinion, and we have the right to disagree with each other. That's absolutely fine. We don't have to agree to get along and to be friends, right? So thank you, Lash's Journey, for being here. So I'm going to end it here. I'm going to give my little outros as usual, and we're going to call it a day. So for those of you who want to, you can go to Nana Foodies premiere, or we'll see each other in these YouTube streets, as they're called. So thank you again, guys, for being here and spending an hour with me, listening to me rambling on over this Bill C-11. So thank you guys for taking the time for being with me. Make sure to be blessed and a blessing today, guys. I hope that whatever you guys plan for yourselves today is wonderful and fantastic and awesome, as you guys are at all times. So thank you again, guys, for being here and listening to my video. Have a great day, great weekend, and see you guys in these YouTube streets. Ciao, ciao, bye bye, au revoir.